Can I retire at 67 and 64 with $279,000 in retirement savings? That's what we're going to look at today on the Your Financial EKG YouTube channel. We're going to look at a couple. They're 67, 64 years old. They have $279,000 saved for retirement. They're asking the question, can I retire or can we retire? And there's a lot of things we need to look at, especially because of their assets and their income. One of the things they want to think about is how much extra income can we afford from our retirement assets? We're going to look at that. We're going to look at what happens when one of the individuals passes away. We're also going to talk about claiming Social Security and taxes. So you ready to get into this? Let's go right now. All right, so here's what we got. I've got John and Martha Orlando, right? The name's been changed to protect the innocent. John is currently retired, so he just retired at the age of 67. Martha is going to retire next year at 65. So we want to get both of them onto Medicare. John is already on Medicare. Martha wants to get to Medicare. Now, the reason we're wanting to get to Medicare is because when you have a situation where your assets are less than what you think you're going to need to retire, then you want to try to maximize something somewhere. And Medicare is going to be a less costly way to get health insurance outside of going to the exchange. Their assets are mostly in IRAs. So if they're using retirement income before age 65, then they're going to not get a subsidy on the exchange or not get a very good subsidy on the exchange. So we want to try to push them to Medicare to get the least amount of health insurance costs for them going forward. So that's why we're going to get Martha to age 65. Now, from a Social Security standpoint, John already started claiming Social Security at 66. His full retirement age was 66 because he was born before the year 1960. Now, listen, if you were born after the year 1960, your full retirement age is 67 years old. That means you would get 100% of your full retirement benefits. Now, if you take Social Security at 62, you're going to get a reduced benefit. You're going to get 70% of your full retirement benefit. Now, between the ages of 62 and 67, you still get a reduced benefit, but it does go up every year. And you can claim it any time you want between 62 and 67. Now, if you wait to claim at 70, if you're an overachiever, a broccoli eater, then at age 70, you get 124% of your full retirement benefit. And you can claim between 67 and 70 as well. So when it comes to Social Security, it's really important that we understand when we're going to claim, why we're going to claim it, and what's that going to do to the spouse. Because keep in mind, John's Social Security is $2532. Martha's Social Security will be $1373. If she claims at 65 and he passes away, she's going to lose her Social Security. So at any time when one of them passes away, we're going to lose the lesser of the two Social Securities. Okay, so let's start this at 65. Perfect. So we don't have any pensions. Go to asset. Here are their assets. Pretty simple stuff. They've got a bank account and then money in their safe of about $14,000. John has a 401k of which we're currently rolling that over, of $100,000 on the traditional side. In that same 401k, he has a Roth portion of $50,000. And then Martha has a 401k at her current job. It's traditional, of $115,426. Now, let me explain what I mean by traditional 401k and Roth 401k. A traditional 401k means the money is pre-tax, meaning anything you pull out of that is going to be taxable as ordinary income. So if you take it out at 60, 70, 80, whatever, you're going to pay taxes on that. And once you get to a required minimum distribution age, you have to pull a required minimum distribution out of that money. John also has a Roth 401k, which is post-tax, meaning everything that comes out of that Roth 401k that's being rolled into a Roth IRA, he's already paid taxes on. So it's tax-free. Now, his 401k gave him the option for the Roth later. Martha's didn't have that option. So what we're trying to do is, manage which accounts we want to take retirement income out of first. We really only have traditional 401k or IRA and Roth 401k or Roth IRA. So we've got to look at both. Those are the only two buckets that we could choose from. And so it kind of limits us from a tax standpoint. Now, from a protected asset, they have real estate that's worth $344,000 with their primary residence. And then they have property that's next door of $22,750. Both of these are debt free. So they don't have any debt, which is awesome. Now, keep in mind, they have a lesser amount saved for retirement than maybe you do, but they have no debt. And so having no debt is a huge advantage for them going into retirement. And John actually bought this property next door. He likes to hunt, fish, garden, camp, stuff like that. So they're actually going to bring their two properties together because he wants to have a garden. He wants to live off the land in retirement. That's his goal, is to grow his own food and, just enjoy the land that he's worked so hard to cultivate, which I think is awesome. Now, the rate of return we're giving the portfolio is 4.85%. So that's what the portfolio is going to average. Now, keep in mind, the market's averaged about 8% since 1950. We're going to do 4.85%. We're going to be pretty conservative with this money because, again, this is their retirement income. We've got Social Security. We have our retirement investment accounts. That's it. So we have to protect this money as much as possible. I call it the 316 principle. And we'll just talk about the first three in that. The 316 principle stands for Social Security, guaranteed income, and variable income. And what you want to do is you want to have those three sources of income, if possible, in your retirement plan. You want to have Social Security maximized out for you. You want to have a guaranteed source of income. Maybe that's a pension, an annuity, something that's just paying you that you always know will be there. And again, I'm not pushing a product. I'm just telling you we want some kind of guaranteed income. And then we want some variable income. That's going to come from assets that are going to grow with the market. That's going to be where we get our travel money from. That's where we're going to get any kind of emergency income that we need from. It's income that can be variable and it's going to move. That's the first principle in the 316 principle. And so we always want to keep that in mind when we're building out retirement income. Now let's talk about expenses. Now, from the expense standpoint, they've got $4,500 in monthly expenses. Remember, they don't have any debt. They don't have any kind of extra mortgage or extra loans or anything like that. So we have $4,500. Now, breaking this down, we've got a baseline of $3,500. That's to eat, drink, taxes, insurance, all that stuff. It's got an inflation rate of 3.27%. And then we have what I like to call wiggle room. Wiggle room is just like what it says. How much wiggle can we get out of our retirement income? And so that was one of John's questions. They were like, hey guys, we need some extra income to enjoy our retirement. We don't really know how much that can be. What's our wiggle room? And so while we're building out the EKG, we're going to work on figuring out their wiggle. So we've added in $1,000 and we're giving in inflation, right? Because if you want to wiggle, I don't know a good song, but a Piggly Wiggly is where we went growing up. But if you want some wiggle in your retirement income, then you need to know what that's going to look like today, but also what's inflation going to be like that down the road, right? Because vacationing in Florida today is a lot different than vacationing in Florida 3 years ago, which it's expensive. Cash flows, we don't have any cash flows. This is where we're going to put in things like vacations and things like that. We've already built that into the wiggle room, so we leave that out. But we do give an idea of taxes on this. You can see how their estimated taxes are fairly low. Now, from a tax standpoint, let's look at the year 2024. Let's look at a full year. They are in Georgia, so we have a state tax of 3.46%. But as you can see, they basically have no projected federal income tax. And you're like, hey, how is that? How do we do that? Well, we got $8,666 in wages. Okay, that's just working for half a year for Martha. We got taxable Social Security at $354. Remember, Social Security is taxed as provisional income. So you have to have enough income from other sources for your Social Security to be taxed. That's called provisional income. And then they've got 1099 interest, and they've got some other gross income. Our deduction's $30,700. So we don't have a tax issue. Now, if we go to the year 2027, and let's say the taxes go up, right? Let's go to 2026. That's when taxes are going to increase. Let's do a 25% increase on them. In 2027, we still say a zero. Now, here's the thing that's tough for us too. We don't know what the future is going to look like, is this deduction. We don't know where this deduction is going to go when they change tax. So that's our hardest. That's the thing we have to always be looking at. So like when you're working with a financial advisor, this is something that we have to be examining every year. I tell my clients that your tax return is like your blood work. Like if you go into the doctor and you're like, "Hey doc, how you doing?" And he's like, "Hey Drew, man, you look like you need to be on Lipitor." And you're like, "Well, why do I gain weight? Do I what do you mean?" He's like, "Well, you look a little pudgy around the edge. That probably means your cholesterol's up. You need to be on Lipitor." And you're like, "Well, wait, you didn't do any blood work. Like, you didn't check me out. You didn't listen to my heart. You didn't do anything." That's your taxes. Your taxes are the blood work to your financial EKG. The tax return is going to tell me, right, everything that's gone on in the past. And then we're going to build out a treatment plan for the future. So we always want to be looking at the blood work, which is your tax return. We always want to know what taxes are going to look like. All right. So let's go to retirement. And this is where the rubber meets the road for John and Martha. They're asking, "Hey, can we retire? Can I retire?" So look at this. We've got $289,000 in spendable assets by the time we get to Martha's retirement. Okay. You can see where we've got Social Security of $3,970. So our net monthly income is $3,969. Net monthly expenses are $4,723. In this figure, this $4,723, you can see this growing. So in January, it's $4,585. But in December, it's $4,723. You see how inflation works monthly? A lot of programs, online financial free financial plans online, they do an annualized inflation. I like to look at it monthly because you can see the withdrawal from their accounts is going up on a monthly basis, right? So here we go. Here's our net monthly cash flow coming out. This red line. Don't let it scare you. This just means we're living off this money. We've worked hard. We've enjoyed our life. Let's live off this money. And so you can see how their assets are kind of growing a little bit. And they actually continue to grow all the way up to 103 and 100. Well, we have $452,000 left. Here's our protected assets. It's our property, right? $528,000. Now, the reason I want to leave a little bit more here for the wiggle room, you might be saying, "Hey, Drew, they could spend a lot more in their go-go years," which they're getting ready to get into. And you're 100% right. Now, John's getting ready to have some some back surgery, so he's going to be out for a little while. They could spend more in their go-go years. But the thing that I want to help protect them against is long-term care. And people don't talk about long-term care enough. But let's act like John's going to go into long-term care. And let's say he's going to do that at 80. We're in Georgia. Okay. Now, it could be any state, whatever state you're in. We're going to look at Georgia. Okay. Now, the current monthly cost is $7,604. We pulled that right from the state of Georgia. And we know with inflation, it's going to be $11,503. Now, long-term care is being in a facility, 24 hours of care. Most of you will have what they call informal care, meaning a spouse will take care of you, a child will take care of you, somebody you know will take care of you, not a nurse. But let's just look at the worst case scenario. So at 80, if we need long-term care, see, we're out of money. Now, in this kind of scenario, what we want to look at is, does it make sense to do a reverse mortgage? Maybe that'll help take care of their long-term care. Maybe sell the property that they had joined to their house. Maybe that will help us on long-term care. But this is something that we have to be thinking about when we're building out the retirement income plans. I hope and I pray that you never have to deal with long-term care, but it is a reality in our world. We are living longer, okay? And we need to take care of ourselves. If you look at the data, we need care. And so we need to have a plan for that. And so we've got to have a plan for them. And right now it's going to be this property over here. Now, obviously at any time, we can adjust their wiggle room if we need to. Now, remember, the wiggle room is just, hey, this you could use if you need it. Maybe they never need it. Maybe they don't need the $1,000 a month. Maybe they only need $6,000 in 1 year. That's $500 a month. It's just something we have to be constantly monitoring. And as a client of ours, that's what we're doing. We're looking at it on a quarterly basis. That's why we have a financial EKG, so we can go back to it and we can look at it. Remember, I can't sprinkle pixie dust on every plan. That's not the goal. People make comments all the time. "Drew, you didn't make this plan work. You didn't do the right thing." I'm like, listen, I can't sprinkle pixie dust. Do John and Martha have a really good plan? Yes, they have a really good plan. They've worked hard. They save. They have no debt. They're in a good spot. But we've still got things that we always have to be thinking about and always be considering. All right. So I hope this has helped. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. Bye-bye.